today I'm going to tie another baitfish pattern invented by the legendary Les Johnson. This is his Williams Point sand lance, named after a spot in Lincoln Park in southwest Seattle, which is known for late season coho and sea run cuts. So sand lance are present in Puget Sound for most of the year, where they form a big part of the diet for sea runs and salmon alike. And there's a sandy beach I fish for coho in August and September, where I can often see shoals of these little fish swimming around as I wade, and they just part around me as they go past. I'm not kidding, sometimes it takes a couple of minutes for the whole school to come through. It's like a river of fish as far as you can see. And Johnson said he designed this fly so that the weight of the bead chain eyes would make it dive down if you stop the retrieve, which is just what a sand lance does when it's being chased. So I'm going to tie this on a Gamakatsu SC15 in size 4. I only have that one left, so if I mess up there's no going back, I'm afraid. This fly is basically just all wing, so these short shank hooks with the wide gape are just ideally suited. And in that. So I'll be using a fine monofilament instead of the regular tying thread, as I want the colour of the materials to show through. I'll start the mono just behind the eye and wind it down to just opposite the point of the hook. So trim away that waste piece, and then return the mono to about 4 millimeters behind the eye. It's a couple of eyes width maybe. I'm going to tie on a pair of bead chain eyes in a medium size that have been anodized to a black color. Here they are, I've cut off a pair. And so I'll just get those seated. Some back to front turns. Then I'm just going to make a series of figure 8 wraps and get them locked in place. And I'll be sealing the whole thing up in resin eventually, but it doesn't hurt to tie these down nice and securely. Okay, so I've got those secured in place, and I'm going to just reinforce this with just a little dab of super glue. There it is. I'm going to just apply that to the mono on the top. Now I'm going to add the first of the body materials, which is white bucktail, and I'm going to select a clump from midway down the tail. And that's a compromise between the hair at the top, which is nice and straight, but it's hollow, so it flares out too much when you tie it down, and the hair right at the tip is nice and fine, but it's very wavy. So I'm going to remove the very long hairs there, and then the short hairs and under fur. There's a few more there that I don't want. Okay. Before I stack the remaining clump, I'm just going to trim some of the extra length which I don't need, and that'll make it stack easier into my little stacker. Now my wife's going to think I'm dicing carrots. Okay, open that up. I'm just going to grab the points. And I'm going to thin out this clump even more, as this fly really needs to be sparse. I'm going to make this one about 2 inches overall, so I'll measure it there and then trim the butts. And I'm going to just attach this with a pinch wrap, and it doesn't have to be super tidy at this point. I'm going to be adding more materials. I can clean it all up. Just tie it so it kind of strings out nicely from the hook. I'm going to tie in a lateral line next, which is going to be silver crystal flash. And I'm just going to cut myself 4 strands of that. So, trim the ends square and tie it in right on top of the bucktail. There you go. Cut the flash to the length of the wing. So next up is some grey bucktail, which I'm going to prepare just the same way as I did for the white. Cut off a sparse chunk. Strip away all the stuff I don't want. Into the stacker. Get in. That's it. Chopping the onions now. Take those points and make sure this is sparse. You can be quite brutal with it. Too little is better than too much. Right. So I'm going to cut that to the same length as the white. Pinch wrap it, tie it in. I'll take a few extra turns around those eyes between them. There. Now the next layer is going to be olive bucktail. There it is. That will do me. I really need need to get myself a stacker with a bigger mouth for these big bucktail hairs. Have a look. Let's take that one out. That one. Okay, that's looking about right. Just bring my thread back. Tie that one in. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to add is a topping of olive flashabou. It's kind of olive pearl. And I'm just going to be using just 3 strands. Cut those off. I'll be tying the flashabou in right along the top of the bucktail. More thread wraps around the eyes, and then now I will cut those to the same length as the bucktails. They're seated properly on the top. I'm going to take a bunch of wraps in front of the eyes to kind of make a little cone. Add a whip finish in there. It's good. Snug it up, remove that mono. Now I'm going to take some thin UV resin and just apply a coat around the eyes. Cure that with my UV light. Then I'll do the same thing on the underside. Getting those eyes completely covered and along into the body. Cure that. Just make sure it's all even. It's looking good. Then last of all, I'm going to just soak a little bit of resin in along the back of the shank into the bucktail. Not much, just a bit. Then gather all that stuff between my fingers and just give it a shot of UV. This is just going to help to marry everything together. And that's pretty much it. Now you can tie this in different lengths, up to about 4 inches or so. If you do 4 inches, you probably need to go up to a size 2 SC15 hook to match the size of the bait fish in your area. And another thing you can do is to make a darker variant for when you got bright daylight conditions like this, where the olive bucktail has been replaced with black and tied on black flashabou instead of olives, sorry. So it's probably a good idea to tie several of both kinds in a range of different sizes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you try it out, please leave a comment on the video and let me know how you do. So best of luck and take care.